Origin Protocol. Expanded Files. Case 001, Chapter 8. Final Record. They came back 6 months later. March 1988. The same two people. The young woman with the notes. The young man with the questions. They sat down. They made no small talk. They placed a folder on the table. They said, "We found something we want to show you before we close the file." I said, "Show me." The folder contained a single document. A field report. Origin Protocol. March 4, 1919. 3 days after the March 1st movement began. I read it slowly. When I finished reading, I sat very still for a long time. Then I understood everything. Not only what I had seen in Anong. Not only why the entity had come. But why it had waited. Why it had taken 19 years from 1919 to 1938 to arrive in Anong with its list of names. Why those specific names? Why that specific Siowan? Why those specific scholars? 19 years is a long time to remember. It is not a long time to wait. The document described the following. March 1, 1919. Anong. The Declaration of Independence had spread from Seoul within hours. In Anong too, people gathered. People who had learned to make themselves invisible, suddenly visible. Suddenly loud. Suddenly together. Among them, the document noted, a young woman. Early 20s in appearance. Later identified by Origin Protocol cross-reference as a non-human entity of Mimicry-Class. Designation at that time, unassigned. She had been living in Anong as human for an unrecorded period. She had friends. Real ones. People she had known for years. People who knew her as a person and not as what she was. She marched with them on March 1st. She was still with them on March 3rd when the informant's reports reached the colonial police. The document listed what happened next with the particular flatness of official record-keeping. The group was surrounded in the streets of Anong. 14 people. The young woman and 13 human friends. The 13 were taken. Most died in custody. 2 survived imprisonment. None survived the decade. The young woman ran. She was shot twice. She did not die from the wounds, because she was not human, but she was damaged in ways the document described clinically and I will not repeat here. She reached her sister in the hills outside Anong. The document had no further information on the sister. Only a note, entity of same classification, significantly older, significantly more powerful. Designation, Mimicry, K001. The entity that would come to Anong 19 years later. I put the document down. I thought about the names in Anong. Park Jae-won. Cho Sung-il. Lee Hyun-chul. The 17 who died in 8 months. I thought about the list she had built. The network she had mapped. The precision of what she had done. The informants who had betrayed 14 people in 1919 had not acted alone. They had acted within a structure. A network of collaboration that had names and connections and records. That network had continued after 1919. It had grown. Its members had aged into respected positions. Some had become scholars. Some had become community leaders. Some had joined the Siowan. She had spent 19 years finding them all. Not hunting. Finding. Building the complete picture. Waiting until she had every name. Every connection. Every collaborator who had contributed to what happened on March 3, 1919, in the streets of Anong. And then she had come to Anong. With everything she needed. I sat with this for a long time. The young man asked, "Does this change your answer to question 38? Question 38. Do you regret your silence? I thought about what I had seen. About the 17 men who died. About the network they had served. About 14 people surrounded in the streets of Annong in 1919 and what had happened to them afterward. I thought about the young woman running through the hills outside Annong with 2 bullet wounds, reaching her sister. I thought about what a sister does with that. I thought about 19 years. I said, no. I do not regret my silence. Not because what she did was without question right. I am still not certain of that. I am 87 years old and I am still not certain of that. But because the silence I kept was the correct silence for the witness I was. I saw. I remembered. I transmitted. And now the record exists. And the record contains what happened in Annong in 1938 and what happened in Annong in 1919 and the 19 years between them. That is what a witness is for. The young woman closed her notebook. The young man collected the folders. They thanked me for my time. I told them to come back if they had more questions. They said they would. They have not come back. I am 87 years old. I do not expect them to come back before I die. The record exists now. It is in their hands. Whatever they do with it is what witnesses do not get to decide. What I know is this. Somewhere, a young woman ran through the hills outside Annong with 2 bullet wounds and reached her sister. And her sister remembered. For 19 years, her sister remembered every name. And then she came to Annong. And I was there. And I watched. And now you know. Origin Protocol. Expanded Files. Case 001, Chapter 8. End of record. End of scholar's silence. Entity motivation, confirmed. Classification revision, pending review. File status, transmitting.